guest today. We have Nathalie Miranda. Am I pronouncing that all right?
That's correct, yeah.
Apart from the American accent. Today, we are going to be sitting down and having a chat. I would say with music artist, singer, how do you identify yourself in that regard if you have to put a title on what you do?
I guess singer-songwriter, kind of, because I guess I write my songs, but yeah, I guess, artist.
Singer, songwriter, artist, Nathalie Miranda, that's what we're going with. If you are joining us live right now, you have the chat on Twitch. You are welcome to ask your questions. This episode will be uploaded to YouTube and things later on. And if you are not, just know that you may be confused if you only hear the audio later on, because I will be interacting with chat a little bit here. But to kick things off, the kind of initial question I usually have for people is simply, what would you give as your sort of origin story to someone who's not encountered you before, right? And that can be, since we talked a little bit about this previously, doesn't have to be your whole life from birth as a person. This could be your origin story for you as an artist. Okay. Where would you start that story?
It's a good question. I would probably just say music has always been like a thing in my life, and it's been the only thing I've ever wanted to do. But I was a very, very shy kid, so I was a late starter. Like I never went to drama school or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I guess I was about 15, and I kind of plucked up the courage to sing in public for the first time. And I think that's what did it for me, because it kind of proved to me that this is what I have to do. It's what I want to do. And then I'd been writing since I was really young. So once I performed in public, I was able to now go ahead and record these songs and do stuff like that, and perform at local events. And it's just gone from there. But I've taken a longer time than most, I would say, to develop my sound and to really kind of know who I am as an artist and how I want to write and how I want things to sound and things like that. So, yeah, it's taken longer than I thought it would, but I think everyone has their own kind of journey to follow, and mine just happens to have taken a little bit longer. But it's cool because I'm very confident in who I am now as an individual and as an artist. So yeah,
fantastic. I think I smiled during that, and I think people in chat who have been in my streams and heard me talk a lot know that that's very relatable. You beat me to your first live performance by about 6 years. I was 21 when I worked up the courage to do it. I had a very similar experience writing things on my own for a long time, and never kind of the right circumstances. Actually happened in England. It was in Cheltenham.
Nice.
The first time. Yeah. I was there for a couple of years for uni, and I just so happened to get placed in a house where everyone else was a music student. I was doing marketing and advertising, and it was the perfect kick in the butt to get me to do stuff. So I completely relate to that. What you talk about your sound, and this is something that I find really interesting, because my first exposure to you, as several of the guests I've had on, was through TikTok and videos that you'd put out there performing or talking about yourself as an artist. And then that's led me to go dig through Spotify and do some listening there. And one thing I will say, I had one of your songs, Catch 22, I believe, playing during the intro and to the stream. And there's a very, very much a grand kind of rock instrumentation in that song.
Yeah.
But when I listen to other things on your profile as well, there's definitely like dance music inspiration, especially in like the kick drum on some of the tracks that I was listening to. You've got some great kind of jazzy production that kind of is almost like a funk feel on some of the songs as well. So you've got a lot of things that you're bringing together. And do you have sort of a favorite direction? Are you kind of in, some artists, you go through phases, and we talk about finding sounds where you say, okay, maybe you're hearing me say this and you're like, well, a couple years ago I did a lot of songs that were used this, but now I'm really trying to focus on this other thing. How have you found that maybe in recent times with the types of sounds you like to use and sing over?
Okay. Again, like I said, it's taken me a long time to kind of find my kind of sound. And with my songs, the album Bulletproof, it was an EP that I released in 2017. That was much more pop production, much more kind of synthy, apart from the song Bulletproof itself, which was more acoustic. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just writing songs and kind of like, oh, maybe this will work, you know. And then Poltergeist was also very high production, kind of electro kind of sounds. And like, I enjoy singing all these songs, but it wasn't till I wrote Catch-22 and then subsequently Battle Scars that I kind of felt like I'd found something, because it's kind of like, they're quite dramatic, kind of dramatic powerhouse pop, I guess is a good way of saying it. But I can be quite a dramatic person, and coming from a Greek heritage, we're all about like the passion and all that kind of like being a bit over the top. So something like Catch-22 and Battle Scars, I think kind of fits me better, and it's more raw. Like the vocals are more from the heart. They come from a deeper place, as with the production as well. So I do like to experiment though. So my upcoming single, which will be in the new year, is totally different, like completely different. And I think
February, right?
Yes, I'm planning a February release, but it's that's going to like just be me indulging my obsession with the 80s. There's a little clue there for you.
Love it, yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of being an independent, unsigned artist. I like to release singles because I think people's maybe attention spans are like smaller nowadays. They want stuff really quickly. And with singles, I can change it up every single time. And I can be a different genre, a different person.
It doesn't make a project feel disjointed if you want to experiment that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. I do a lot of the same. I started out in spoken word poetry, and then moved into hip hop from there. And then all of a sudden I've kind of, as I've started working on more of my own production, I've kind of done a few singer-songwriter releases where I really enjoyed the singing and digging a little deeper into storytelling in that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of production and all this different, very rich production, for you, what's your process like on a lot of these songs? As far as I see, you have some equipment there, your audio interface and such. What, if you don't mind me asking or revealing it, what portion of things do you work on an individual song? Do you have producers you like to work with? Do you want to do everything 100% yourself? How does that process work for you?
I definitely do not do the production. I can't can't claim that. I usually I always write the melody and the lyrics, and then together with my producer, we create the track basically. And when it's with the dance tracks that you've referenced, those are me just writing the melody and the lyrics, and the producer again will write will produce the track himself, like remotely. That's basically what happens. I come up with the idea, and we sit down and we kind of work things through. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so things take longer. Like I have some musician friends that are just churning out singles like maybe like once a month. I can't do that, and I kind of have to just sit and do it until I'm happy, and then listen back to it, and I'll be like, oh, I want that changed, and maybe we should do this, and do you know what I mean? That's why everything is a little bit slower for me. Like I have bigger gaps between my releases, but I've released some cover songs to cover the gaps. Got
it. And do you, I see in the chat, Jerry Noche, welcome. Thanks for sending us some positive vibes on a Sunday.
Hi, everyone.
I see from you. Welcome in, Jerry. Do you, speaking of releasing things in between or filling the gaps, things like these covers, do you release any other places where, a lot of musicians use a SoundCloud or a YouTube as maybe a more raw outlet, or they want to do covers or demos that they're not necessarily going to license or completely release on Spotify? Is that something that you do as well?
Well, I release on Spotify because I distribute through Ditto, and Ditto has a license, which means you can release a cover song, but for streaming only.
Right.
So yeah, that way it's just a lot easier. You know, you don't have to go through the process of getting the copyright license and all that kind of stuff. So it's just easier. And the covers I've released so far have been really well received, and they've been a nice kind of sort of crossover until I release a new single. But yeah, and they've also been really fun. It's been really fun to kind of sort of rework classic songs. So yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned as well, welcome in. I see some familiar names trickling in here. Thank you for being around. A lot of these guys and gals are in here for the freestyle hip hop sessions that we'll get up to later, and they're very kind, as I always bring in it. Like, I got some other content I want to do. There's other really interesting people, so I love it when people show up for the podcast as well.
Thanks, guys.
You mentioned for your production, you said I'll work with my producer and he does this and that. Is this a long-term collaboration with one person? Do you work with other?
It is indeed, yeah. For my own stuff, it is. But I do work like with the dance tracks and some other things I've done over the years. I do work with other people, but when it's my own stuff, it kind of just works the way that it's going, kind of thing. Like
and
this,
how long have you guys worked together in that way?
Like over 10 years.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a while, so yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's good as well. I mean, you get those people that I think a lot of artists, there's a lot of maybe one-off things. You do a collaboration here or there, and when you get some repeat projects, let alone over a number of years or 10 years, there can be a nice working rhythm, I imagine, where there's some things you skip past in the process of always wondering if this person's gonna like this, or how are we gonna do that. I see Tien in the chat says, what's Nathalie's Twitch? Do you have a Twitch account?
Oh, no, I don't, I'm afraid. No, I actually do a lot of live streaming on Stage It, so I know it's like a competitor.
No, that's all right. So it's a music-focused streaming service, is that right?
Pretty much,
I've heard the name before. Okay.
Yeah. I do. I'm twice a week on Stage It, every Monday and Thursday. Okay. But I do, like, if you go to my website, you can see like everywhere I am. So yeah.
Awesome. Towards Night says, I almost gifted a bunch of random Nathalie Miranda's subs.
Oh no, I'm not there.
Hey, it's okay. He can do that if he wants. You know, I'll take my cut of the gifted subs. No, and by the way, what's your website? So I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. It's so my name, NathalieMiranda.com, with the TH in the Natalie. Yep. I do need to just update the Stage It dates because I took a week off last week, but I'll be live tomorrow. So from this week on, I'll be back every Monday and Thursday. And I also do TikTok live usually twice a week. But again, I took the week off last week. So I'm doing everything.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I have found an outlet that might be of interest to you. I bring this up because I literally the other day was doing a live stream that peaked at like 13,000 viewers at the same time.
God.
And then other ones I've had, even doing, like freestyling for a couple thousand at a time, is Reddit is like this weirdly untapped. They introduced only like a year ago live streaming on it.
Okay.
And it's because it's like there's so many people on the site compared to how many people even use the live stream feature or know about it. Some artists have really, really good exposure there, and it can be a good thing to experiment with. Definitely, I've had several people come in and become regular viewers on other platforms, or they follow me on social and stuff from that. So that's been a fun experiment. But I totally understand the kind of the scheduling of, I do the same thing. I say, these are my like Twitch nights, but in between I'll still like, okay, here's this other site I can do something on. And,
I know.
And that is, but that's the never ending, I think, independent artist thing, that you gotta always be looking for those
It's very overwhelming, to be honest, to kind of to have to be everywhere at once. I talk about this quite a lot. I used to do Instagram Live every single week since September last year, every Wednesday religiously, and then I just went, I just can't do it anymore. I need a break. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think it's really kind of it requires so much energy to be constantly upbeat and singing the same songs and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's what we have to do. So
yeah, and there's
not gonna complain.
As I'm sure Twitch or Stager, you would have a lot of people, anywhere that a lot of artists are streaming. This is something in some ways it's good. Because I get to avoid it a little bit when I'm doing the freestyles. It can be different every time. It's also, demanding to have everything be on the spot every time and make up something new every time. So it's like a trade-off each way. But I've thought about that as well. I've thought, I don't know if I could do that from the other side if I was doing like a set list on live stream each. I say that as I just said like the other day. I announced we'll do like a holiday concert. But it's okay as like a one-off. Every once in a while, I enjoy doing that, a set list of songs, and plus that's a great stand-in for just how few shows over the last year and a half I've been doing compared to before. So it feels different than before. Yeah. Talman says it feels difficult. So Talman Music, also from the UK, is someone I'm working on a little something with right now. We're finishing that up. And says feels difficult to find a happy balance, making music, keeping the socials up to date. Yes. You've been working with your music for some time now, and how have you felt about that? Obviously, if you've been working on this any kind of creative passion, music especially, over a decade or more of time, then you see changes in the landscape of what tools work and what people are using, and how has that been for you with adapting to different things coming out and what you've found successful or not?
I find social media very, very kind of stressful, if I'm being honest. It's been great for me because I've been able to reach, like a international fan base, which I would never have done before the pandemic. Yeah. But I was kind of thrust into it, and I was everywhere: Facebook streaming, Instagram, TikTok, Stager, everything. And it has its benefits, of course, like it's fantastic, but I think it is hard. Like, was it Tom said that to kind of to balance taking a little bit of time off to create, in fact, to make the music, and to be inspired and to go out and get the inspiration to do stuff, or just to take a day off and, like, I don't know, go for a walk or something, just the really simple things. Well, it's very easy to sort of oversee them, I think. And particularly for me in the last sort of maybe 3 months, I felt an immense pressure to constantly be creating and making videos for TikTok. I still don't get TikTok. I do not understand how it works. I'm just kind of going with the flow. But I kind of have to take a step back and be like, you know what, it doesn't matter, just do your thing, and hopefully people will like your music, and it will all kind of just work out eventually. But it has been tough. I was never one to use social media a lot before the pandemic. And I'm still kind of learning and finding my way around it, but I think everyone has their own way of using it. And I just hope mine is all right. Absolutely. For the moment.
It's very very poignant to mention the very thing you're trying to promote through using those can fall by the wayside a bit in the kind of scramble to constantly make content around it. I have this funny little thing. It was a book on habits that I read a while ago, and so in front of me I have a couple of glasses, and there's clothespins with the various things written on them, so do something for improving the apartment, go for a walk, do a live stream, all these things each day that I will move from one glass to the other and make sure that I'm kind of hitting these things that I want to do for myself and for music. But I literally recently made a new clothespin for make some kind of new music, to make sure that I actually have that main thing, at least for 30 minutes, whatever I could squeeze in each day, so that I don't run into that exact same thing. Because I would definitely find days where I'm like, okay, pretty soon I've got a stream, and then when I'm done streaming, it's gonna be too late to make noise and record things. And so with this last bit of time, you know, what am I gonna do? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I haven't made a TikTok today, or I haven't done this, and that all of a sudden eclipses actually writing some new lyrics or something. So can be tough. What for you, you know, what do you think when you say you're navigating TikTok, or just like, oh, I'm doing it my way and we'll see what works out, or that kind of thing? I think that's pretty not a bad approach. I think there is I think there's a real scramble to fit into like, people talk about algorithms all the time. It's become this word that I come from a marketing background. I'm very familiar with algorithms before this was like something that people were saying at all. And one thing that I think people make a big mistake about is the entire point of an algorithm is to basically increase watch time on or use time on any platform, and also combat any kind of attempt to beat it. And so, for example, back in the day, Google search algorithms, people would find out, I can do this to get my website at the top. Well, within a month, that wasn't working. And because the whole point of any of these things is from the perspective of interest of the company, right? Yeah. And so it's a futile thing to always be trying to trick it rather than work with it, because what you're basically saying is, if you're you're operating on little hacks and how I'm going to beat the algorithm, you're basically saying that TikTok's 4,000 engineers and $1 billion budget for them is not going to you're not going to be thwarted by that, because you're going to put something in your title that they haven't thought of or something. Exactly. It's not really how it works. And I think that being authentic ultimately is the best way, because when you can find people who like what you're doing authentically, it's what you're going to do more of. And if people genuinely like what you're doing more of, they will watch more of it, they will comment and engage more, and they will do things that naturally are algorithmically favored, which is how it's all supposed to work anyways. And I think that's something, it kind of led into the question that I was thinking of this whole discussion, which is, there are a lot of people starting out in lots of fields, but let's take music, since that's something you and I work within. There are lots of people, younger people especially, starting out, and that's one of the things that I see a lot. It's kind of like a pet peeve, like when people are talking about the algorithm, this is what you need to do to like get the most views and all. And I can say from my perspective, okay, that might not really be as smart as you think. What, for you, when you're looking at other people maybe starting out in music, what do you like to see or not like to see, or maybe even, some guidance that you would give from your experience to other people that are maybe just starting out with trying to get their music out there?
I mean, if we're talking about social media, I can use TikTok very well as a sort of talking point, because I had an old account last year. I had a different account, and I started it up like everyone did in like April 2020. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just following like what other people were doing and doing silly trends and silly lip syncs and dances and all sorts of stuff that isn't me. And I was joining like TikTok lives, like to get more followers and stuff like that. And it just kind of stopped. Like everything just stagnated. And I thought, this is not good, kind of thing. So I closed the account at the end of last year, opened up a completely new one. And I thought, you know what? I don't care what they say. I'm going to do what I want. If it means I'm going to do a video with no makeup on, that doesn't bother me. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to sing what I want, when I want, how I want. and just be myself. And I found that it's really works. Like for me personally, I mean, I still have I think I've got 5,500 followers, but they've all come from my lives and from, people sharing my videos or whatever. And people chat with me, and I like that. And it feels more genuine. It feels more me. I'm not trying to be like a sort of, competing with my younger peers, for example. I can only be myself. And I would say to anyone, there's a lot of like TikTok gurus on the platform, like do this, post 3 times a day, do this. It might not be possible for everyone to post 3 times a day. It's certainly not for me. So I do, just do work around my own kind of schedule and just to do what feels natural. And like you said, just bring out your personality. I think that's what people want to see. They don't want to see you pretending to be somebody else or, because ultimately people can sense that. I think they can see that it's not you and you're trying to be like the viral video or whatever. So, so I think that's with TikTok, especially, I would say just do your own thing. And if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Just keep making your content and, that's it basically.
The other thing too is it's when we talk about you mentioned the post this many times a day or this many times per week that a lot of people bandy around. I mean, it's also, which I think comes back to authenticity. There's so many examples of that demonstrably not being the case for people because different people showcase their content in different ways, and you will have amazing creators who have these great skits that have costuming in them or a very produced idea that obviously takes a long time, and their game is that they do that one thing really well, and they might go 1 to 3 weeks between videos and post a video that has millions of views every time because they focus on that idea and getting that perfect, and that's their game. You have other people who have lots of funny like train of consciousness opinions, and that's what people stick around for, and those people do post 5 times a day, and that works for them, but their production time on each of those is very different. And so again, that comes back to what's authentic for you and what you want to make. I think
exactly.
That's very, very smart. Yeah, I see Tomlin saying, as a newbie to all this, be interested in any tips and tricks, Nathalie, yourself, Petra. Don't worry about me. You guys get my thoughts all the time. Things that helped you on music journeys, maybe outside of TikTok or other things for you that you've learned along the way, either through making or live performing. I
think. It sounds a bit cliche, but I would say just you really have to believe in yourself. Like I said, I was a very shy kid, and I always trying to be like whatever was in the charts. I would try to be like that, or like I would think that I wasn't cool enough, I wasn't pretty enough, whatever. I was just the most negative kid, and I feel like if you have a passion for something, and that you've got a skill at it, you need to believe in yourself to some extent. And I think that really does help. Everything for me just happened later in life. I'm still actually quite shy, and I'm still very sensitive to certain things, but I don't let them affect me as much as I did when I was younger. So and I think you just get out there, perform live as and when you can in the current climate. Collaborations are also really good, whether they're if you're putting a vocal on someone else's track that's already written, or whether you're 50-50, you write half each. They're fun as well. Like a lot of my dance tracks, I've worked with some of these producers for like 3 years now, and it's really cool because it's a different kind of side to my vocals, and so you never know where they're going to lead. So try and take every opportunity, but But also, don't be afraid to say no. That's a massive thing for me. I would say yes to every single collaboration, and I ended up with like a list of things, and I just couldn't keep up with it. So it's okay to say no. It doesn't make you a bad person.
That's very, very good advice. Devil in the chat saying, not to mention, in the midst of all this, time to nurture relationships, marriage, parenting, etc. And it also depends what you want. We don't have to dig into that side of things for you personally, but for me, I can say that there will, along with that belief in yourself or working for it, there will be sacrifices in those departments. So just as a very personal example, I made very clear in any of relationships over the past decade going into them that I was not interested in starting a family of my own. Or at least any time before, we've had this discussion on stream a bit of speaking of saying no, of, my opinion with having kids was, look, either I'm going to have kids before I, feel like I've seen my own dreams and things through, and I'm going to resent them for the fact that I gave up, or I'm going to get to not give it up and then not be the attentive person that they deserve. And so either way, that was kind of a line I had to draw. And so that's another thing too. It's not necessarily, it is finding the time to maintain those things, but it's also figuring out how important different parts of life, or of what a lot of people experience in life, are to you, and what you want to where you want to go with that. You mentioned as well trying to, in your last answer, imitate things that were popular in the charts and things, and I think you mentioned finding your voice, and your voice is very unique. So I did want to get to this because I think a lot of people come into your TikToks, maybe they hear a clip of your like a live performance or a song, something for the first time, and your voice, first of all, the register you sing in is lower than a lot of singers, or especially female singers, and that it gives a very unique quality, right? And one thing I'm wondering about is, did you try and suppress parts of you, be it creatively, that you thought didn't fit into what was popular in music, or that you tried to fit a different mold at all in these times? So was that when you mentioned it took a while to kind of find your sound? When did you feel like you'd kind of broken out of chasing that?
I would say only in the last sort of 2 to 3 years, to be honest. I just want to touch on the low register that you mentioned.
Sorry.
I do actually, I sing in the low register when it needs to be there. Like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're an alto." I'm like, I'm not actually. I'm a soprano. But I like that's what I like. I like to kind of use different parts of my ranges in my songs, so like in Catch 22, the verses are low, and then the chorus is like they're up there, But that is, I think that is me. I think that's why it's taken so long, because I'm inspired by a whole variety of different artists, and I've always tried to learn from my favorite artists, like Freddie Mercury and Aretha, Whitney, Christina Aguilera, all of those people I love. And I've taken bits of them over the years and kind of tried to work it into a Nathalie sound. But I think, I was always a bit like, I do sound different. Maybe I should try and change it so I can sound more like radio friendly or whatever. And I tried to do that a lot over the years. But ultimately, it doesn't work for me because it's not me. As much as I'd love to be Christina Aguilera, I can't be. I'm me, so I have to do what's good for me, and just learn from the people that have inspired me. And now, I get trolls all over the place. Like on TikTok, I just block them, and they're the same on every other. Some people are like, you sound like a dude, and I'm just like, I could come back with a really great response, but I'm not going to indulge you, so I just block them.
Yeah, that's the way to be.
It is, but because you're not going to please everyone, and it's taken me a really long time to accept that. And yeah, it's hurtful that people don't like what you do, but you cannot please everyone. I know people that don't like Freddie Mercury. I think they're crazy, but it's their opinion, right?
Yeah.
So they're entitled to their opinion. So, I think that's what I've learned over the last 2-3 years, especially. So yeah.
And speaking of things you learn as you get older as well, I think, you know, one of those like heard it as a kid lessons for me that like you're like yeah, and then finally like internalized growing older was for me anyways, it was very much, you know, the idea that no one in a great place themselves goes out of their way to go into someone else's space and say negative things about them, which is this whole idea of, you know, it really is more of a reflection of the person doing it, and even if they're saying something about you, nobody who is feeling whole with what they've got going on or feels like they have something to strive for just feels like it's worth taking time and energy out of their thing to do it. And so I think that helped me a lot with having a bit of a thicker skin in music and figuring out how to
for sure. And the point they're taking the time to actually watch the video, right? So it's just adding to your views.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fine. Yeah.
Hurt people. Exactly. Goat. Welcome in. That's true. It's the hurt people doing the hurting. Speaking of those types of situations, what for you has been a, let's say, career low point or event that was very negative, and feel free to juxtapose it with something you learned from it or not.
Sure.
And then also a high point and something that professionally was very validating for you so far.
Okay, so I'm going to stick with social media for the low point. It happened last year. By the way, I have a cold, guys. I don't usually sound like this, right?
Thank you so much for powering through. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I was contacted by a company through YouTube that wanted to do a compilation of my videos and stick it on their Instagram page. I can't remember the name, but they have like over 1 million subscribers. They're like a meme thing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I checked them out. They looked legit. So I gave them the permission to take my videos and do a compilation on the basis that they would send me the proof before they posted it. And they didn't. And then like after 2 weeks, just suddenly I was tagged on Instagram. And what they've done without my approval is kind of pitch me as an impersonator, right? So they've taken videos of me singing a Beyonce song, a Christina song or whatever, and said this girl's impersonations are like off the hook or something. And I was like, oh my God, because I'm not very good at impersonating people at all. Like, you know, it was just me singing their songs.
Right.
And they'd done it in this compilation, and the trolls just came out from under their rocks. Yeah. And I had the video itself had like 30,000 views, but I've never in my life, you know, like I was bullied at school a little bit, and I've been around, you know, horrible people or whatever, but I've never in my life experienced the level of like hatred and like, I mean, I can't even describe it. It was so awful, the things they were saying. They started, not only were they saying like I couldn't sing, they started commenting on my appearance as well, like this girl's too skinny, she needs to eat a burger, like totally irrelevant things, but really, really, I just couldn't believe it. Like I still can't find the words, and I immediately contacted them, and they were like, "Oh, hey, really sorry, we'll like turn the comments off." But by that point, the damage had been done, and it took them like 24 hours to take the video off completely. But I couldn't sing for about 5 days after that. And I'm a grown woman. I'm like 38 years old. And last year I was like, I've never been so upset by something ever. I mean, like, and just by a bunch of people that I don't even know that are like just hiding behind their keyboards and stuff. And it really just made me have thicker skin for sure. And I was just like, you know what, you know, I'm not going to please everybody. And I have to just learn that and just deal with it and you know, just get on with it. It was a really low point because it made me it actually made me question whether I can do this. Like, can I sing? Are my songs a load of crap? You know what I mean? It was just, yeah, so that was definitely a very, very low point, but positive in the sense that it made me learn that, you know, that's the nature of the world we live in right now with social media and stuff. Now, a high point, I don't think there's one particular. I mean, I've had some really just, you know, great performances, great gigs where everything just comes together, you know, like the planets align and it's just like a really, really cool gig. There was another time I sang backing vocals for a really famous British band called James. They were really big in the 90s. And I was singing backing vocals for them on the Later with Jules Holland show here on the BBC. It was a couple of years ago. It was a great experience. It was live TV. It was all like professional, and it was great. So
awesome.
There's been a lot of highs, I think, you know, just working with great people and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that one low, you know, really like overshadowed all the positive things for some time. But yeah, it's a lesson learned, I think.
Definitely. I don't experience that sort of thing. I see in the chat being the spotlight, but it's really hard not to read crummy comments, even when you know they're bad. Yeah, of course. You know, I see it. You're inevitably, you know, product in some way of the environment that you're in, and so it's how much time those things spend being a part of your environment. I think that's very much a reason you can see any number of celebrities who've talked about turning comments off, not reading anything anymore. People write about them, and you know, because that's very real, a very real experience. You can intellectually know as much as you want that it's not about you, really, but emotionally it doesn't completely negate it. Just knowing. You know. It's
really hard because, like, obviously, you know, when I was growing up, all the sort of singers I admired, you know, the only way we could talk to them was like through fan mail or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But now everyone's so accessible, and I think, you know,
and expected to be as well.
And expected to be accessible, and also it's you're an easier target. You know, you can just hop on Instagram and go, that was really bad. Like, hope you have a day job or whatever it is they say. You know. And, you know, it's just difficult to deal with. But, you know, it's the nature of the game. And we just got to, you know, block them or just move on. It's fine. No problem.
I have two last questions for you. The first one is selfish for me, and the second one is selfish for you. So the one that's selfish for me is what would you give advice, so say, to other music artists? You have, let's say, songs. I see your Spotify. There's definitely songs you've had get quite a few like streams as well, which is something, you know, Spotify runs the kind of mindset of a lot of artists and their promotional strategies right now. What have you found to work in that way on a, you know, more concrete level for promoting a song or having a successful release? And I'll let you talk, and I'll just grab my little notebook over here.
So my experiences with Spotify.
Yeah, or just release strategies, streaming strategies, the things that have worked for you there.
Right. Okay. So I discovered when I released Catch 22 that you really do need PR.
Okay. Yeah.
Up until then, I'd never used a PR company. I was just like, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do my ads and blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, it really doesn't work. You need some kind of a machine behind you, whether it's on a budget or whatever. Catch 22 would never have reached.
It's got 210,000 streams I see on Spotify right now.
Exactly. And I have a massive fan base in South America, which I was not expecting. And they are lovely and perfect for me because I speak Spanish. So it's really cool. Yeah. But like, I would never have had that without the PR company. And they did like everything. So Spotify, Facebook, YouTube campaign and everything. And I reached my goal of 1,000 YouTube subscribers because of that. So I think without that, you're going to find it really hard to, you know, make a little dent in the like millions of artists.
And how did you go about finding an organization you trusted or that you felt comfortable entrusting that to?
it was actually recommended to me by a good friend of mine, and I used them for Battle Scars as well, and I'm planning to use them for my upcoming release too. We just have like a relationship now, and I trust them and stuff like that. So
excellent.
It's not cheap. It's not super expensive, but you know, for me, it's definitely worth it. Just to get a little bit more traction on the track.
Awesome. Speaking of the next release, basically leads to the last question for you is what are you looking forward to? What can people following you look forward to, and that you want to maybe explore in the future? And then, of course, let people know where they can find you and go track things down, so that, you know, some people in the chat might want to go hear what you sound like.
Sure. So you can look forward to definitely a new single in February next year. There will be at least 2 more singles for 2022 as well, plus some more covers. So maybe like a total of 4 or 5 songs over the year. There's loads of house tracks, dance tracks that are still to be released, all these collaborations I'm doing. So if you want to find me, I'm on NathalieMiranda.com, and on my website there's like a thing on the side with all my social media links, so you can go and check me out on all social media sites. And there's also some music players, a Spotify and an Apple link thing on my website. It's all there. And like, feel free to message me. Like, I reply to all my messages and stuff. So if you want to find out more, or, you know, anything, drop me a line.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I'll, of course, let you know when I upload anything, and there will be no meme edits, that I can promise you. So it will be as is. But I appreciate you taking the time and being a trooper. I haven't gotten a cold before in the interim since we talked about scheduling this. So thanks a ton for being a part of this. I'm going to go ahead and hang up the call, but let's stay in touch, and I look forward to what you've got coming. Definitely. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, of course. All right. Goodbye. Okay. Bye. About to make waves, everybody grab a kneeboard. Let's make hits on a little MIDI keyboard. Sorry for the noise, bitch, put it in your report. 2 a.m. hunched at the PC Igor.